The Dallas Cowboys haven't been known as big spenders in free agency for many years. Their approach has typically been cautious, seeking bargains and avoiding marquee signings, but that may be about to change. This offseason could be different, a moment where the Cowboys decide to step up and take bold action. As analyst Mike Fisher has put it, it might be time for Dallas to buy a Ferrari. By that, he means it's time for the Cowboys to be active in the first wave of free agency, to target proven, top-tier NFL talent, and to be willing to pay the price for known production. Historically, the Cowboys have been careful with their money. They prefer to find value rather than chase star names. But Jerry Jones, the team's owner, has recently made statements that hint at a shift in philosophy. Quotes like "bust the budget," "finances are no object," and "we're not saving in our back pocket" suggest that Dallas may finally be ready to spend big to improve the team immediately. In a league where every playoff spot is fiercely contested, being able to sign proven talent can make the difference between a good season and a championship run. One player whose name has repeatedly come up in discussions is Trey Hendrickson, defensive end for the Cincinnati Bengals. CBS Sports' Garrett Podale ranks Hendrickson as the number 2 free agent in football, and his future with the Bengals appears uncertain. Hendrickson is a proven pass rusher, posting back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons before 2025, which makes him one of the most sought-after defensive ends available. His potential availability makes him a fascinating option for the Cowboys, though there are several important factors to consider. The first and perhaps most obvious factor is money. Trey Hendrickson's market value, according to Spotrac.com, is approximately $25.4 million per year. Realistically, anything below $30 million per year might not be enough to secure a deal. Dallas has a history of caution when it comes to paying for free agents, but Jerry Jones' recent statements indicate that the team may be ready to invest significantly to strengthen the defense. The question becomes whether the Cowboys are willing to spend that kind of money to address their pass-rushing needs, which have been a weakness in recent seasons. Age and durability are additional considerations. Hendrickson will be 31 this offseason. While he is not over the hill, this is certainly an age where teams must evaluate a player's potential decline. Last season, he played only 7 games due to injury, though in the 2 seasons prior, he played every game, demonstrating durability when healthy. Offering a multi-year, high-value contract to a 31-year-old pass rusher carries risk, and Dallas will need to weigh whether the potential impact outweighs the uncertainties related to age and injuries. Contract length is also crucial. Hendrickson is likely to seek a multi-year deal, which could complicate matters for Dallas. The team may prefer a 1-year prove-it arrangement, allowing them to evaluate health and performance before committing long-term. However, offering only a single season might not entice a player of Hendrickson's caliber, particularly if other teams are willing to provide longer-term security. Navigating this balance between securing elite talent and mitigating long-term risk will be a delicate task for the Cowboys front office. If Dallas were to land Hendrickson on a multi-year deal, the impact on Brian Schottenheimer's defense could be immediate and significant. A proven, high-level pass rusher would not only increase the team's sack totals, but could also elevate the performance of other defensive linemen and linebackers, creating opportunities across the defensive front. The presence of a dominant pass rusher can change the way opposing offenses play, forcing quarterbacks to make faster decisions and potentially disrupting game plans. Hendrickson's addition could provide exactly this type of impact, giving the Cowboys a much-needed boost in a key area. Of course, there are trade-offs. Hendrickson is not quite at the level of a player like Maxx Crosby, who may offer higher production but would require a trade and additional financial investment. Even so, Hendrickson remains an attractive option for Dallas because he represents a balance of proven talent and attainable acquisition cost, assuming the team is willing to pay the price. The Cowboys must weigh the potential production and leadership Hendrickson brings against the risk of age, injuries, and contract cost. Looking at the pros and cons, the advantages are clear. Hendrickson is a proven elite pass rusher who can immediately strengthen the defensive line and potentially elevate younger players around him. He has demonstrated the ability to perform at a high level, producing consistent sack totals over multiple seasons. His presence could be the difference between an average defensive performance and one capable of competing in the playoffs. On the other hand, the cons include his age, the risk of injury recurrence, and the high cost associated with securing his services. Every dollar spent on Hendrickson is a dollar not available for other areas of need, meaning the team must carefully consider whether the investment maximizes overall team improvement. Ultimately, the Cowboys face a pivotal decision this offseason. Will they continue their cautious, value-oriented approach to free agency, or will they embrace a more aggressive strategy, willing to pay top dollar for proven talent? Trey Hendrickson exemplifies the high-reward, moderate-risk type of signing that could define the Cowboys' approach moving forward. His addition would signal a willingness to invest in immediate success and could serve as a blueprint for other moves this offseason. Jerry Jones has emphasized that the team is not holding money back, and this may be the moment to act decisively. If the Cowboys do target Hendrickson, the outcome could be transformative, strengthening the defensive line, improving pass rush pressure, and creating a more balanced team capable of competing at the highest level. Fans and analysts will be watching closely, eager to see whether Dallas takes the step toward a bolder free agency philosophy. The decision to buy the Ferrari, so to speak, will not only impact the upcoming season, but could also set the tone for the franchise's approach to free agency in the years ahead. This offseason, the Dallas Cowboys have the opportunity to reshape their defensive identity. By adding a player like Trey Hendrickson, they could gain an immediate, measurable improvement, bringing proven NFL production and leadership to the team. However, every decision carries risk, and the team must navigate financial constraints, age considerations, and injury history. It is a balancing act between ambition and prudence, a test of whether the Cowboys are ready to embrace a new, bolder approach to building a championship-caliber roster. In the end, the question is simple yet profound. Will Dallas continue its tradition of careful spending, or will they seize the moment to invest in proven talent and make a statement? Trey Hendrickson represents the opportunity and the challenge of that decision. As Jerry Jones has said, we're not saving it in our back pocket. This offseason, the Cowboys have the chance to prove it, demonstrating whether they are ready to take the next step and compete at the highest level in the NFL. The coming months will reveal whether Dallas is willing to spend big, make bold moves, and position themselves as. What's going on, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the Cowboys News Today. If this is your first time here, this is the place where we break down Cowboys news, rumors, draft talk, free agency, and real football discussions without the hot take nonsense. Before we get into today's news, I need everyone listening right now to do me one quick favor. If you love Dallas Cowboys content, if you love NFL talk, if you enjoy long-form breakdowns like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We're answering a ton of Cowboys mailbag questions, and some of these are big ones. We're talking about trade rumors surrounding names like Maxx Crosby and Buda Baker. We're diving into Cowboys draft philosophy, including 2026 NFL draft prospects like T.J. Parker, Cassius Howell, and Mansour Delane. We're also discussing free agency decisions like Javonte Williams versus Breece Hall, contract extension talks around George Pickens, the idea of franchise tagging Pickens and drafting Jeremiah Smith, and even whether the Cowboys should trade down if they end up with a second first-round pick. On top of all that, we're also talking coaching, Brian Schottenheimer as head coach, and whether Dallas should consider adding Jim Schwartz to the staff as a position coach or defensive advisor. So yeah, this is one of those episodes where you sit back, relax, and really lock in. Let's start with the coaching situation because everything flows from the top down. One of the most common questions I've seen is whether Brian Schottenheimer is actually doing a good job as the Cowboys head coach. When Schottenheimer was hired, the reaction from fans was mixed. Some people felt it was a safe hire, some felt it lacked excitement, and others were willing to wait and see. And honestly, that wait-and-see approach is still the right one. When you look at the team so far, there are clear positives. Offensively, things look more organized. There's better structure, better rhythm, and more balance in certain game situations. Players seem to understand their roles better, and the locker room hasn't shown signs of cracking under pressure. That matters more than people realize. A head coach's job isn't just calling plays. It's managing people, personalities, and expectations. That said, Schottenheimer's real test is going to be how he builds his coaching staff. Great head coaches surround themselves with strong, experienced assistants, and that leads directly into another popular question. Should the Cowboys consider bringing in Jim Schwartz as a position coach or defensive advisor? Jim Schwartz is one of the most respected defensive minds in football. He's known for building dominant defensive lines, creating aggressive pass rush schemes, and maximizing talent up front. If you imagine Jim Schwartz working alongside Micah Parsons and the rest of this defensive front, that's exciting. This wouldn't be about replacing anyone or undermining the current staff. It would be about adding experience, toughness, and another strong voice in the room. The best coaches aren't afraid of help, and if Schottenheimer made a move like that, it would actually show confidence. Now, let's get into the topic that really got Cowboys fans talking: Maxx Crosby. The idea of Maxx Crosby being traded to the Dallas Cowboys sounds wild, but it's not completely insane. Crosby is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. His motor is relentless, his production is elite, and pairing him with Micah Parsons would instantly give Dallas the most feared pass rush in football. Offensive coordinators would lose sleep trying to figure out how to block that. But here's the reality check. A trade for Maxx Crosby would cost a lot. We're talking multiple high draft picks, possibly first-rounders, and then you'd have to pay him a massive contract. This kind of move only makes sense if the Cowboys believe they are firmly in a Super Bowl window right now. Trades like this aren't about long-term value. They're about urgency. They're about saying, we're all in. The big question is whether Jerry Jones is willing to push those chips to the center of the table. Another name connected to the Cowboys in trade rumors is Budda Baker. Budda Baker is a different type of move. He's a veteran safety who brings leadership, physicality, and toughness to the secondary. The Cowboys have talent in the defensive backfield, but what they've lacked at times is experience and consistent run support. Budda Baker would immediately help in that area. The concerns, of course, are age and contract. This wouldn't be a long-term rebuild piece. This would be a win-now addition. But sometimes when you feel close, those are exactly the moves you make to push yourself over the top. That brings us into Cowboys draft philosophy, which is another huge part of this conversation. One of the big mailbag questions is whether the Cowboys should focus on drafting a linebacker instead of taking two cornerbacks. When you look at the roster, Dallas has invested heavily in cornerbacks over the years. Meanwhile, the linebacker group has been inconsistent, especially against the run. A true three-down linebacker could change the entire defense. It might not be the flashiest pick, but it could stabilize the middle of the field, improve tackling, and allow the defensive line to play more aggressively. Sometimes the smartest draft picks aren't the ones that grab headlines. Looking ahead to the 2026 NFL Draft, there are a few names Cowboys fans should start getting familiar with. T.J. Parker out of Clemson is an edge rusher with explosive traits, a quick first step, and the kind of bend around the edge that defensive coordinators love. He fits exactly what Dallas looks for in pass rushers. Cassius Howell from Texas A&M is another edge defender, but he brings more power. He's physical, strong at the point of attack, and has proven himself against SEC competition. He would complement speed rushers like Micah Parsons really well. Then there's Mansour Delane, a versatile defensive back who can play both corner and safety. His football IQ and flexibility would give the Cowboys options in the secondary that very few teams have. Mansour Delane to Dallas makes a lot of sense when you think about modern NFL defenses. Another strategic question is whether the Cowboys should trade down if they end up with a second first-round pick. Trading down isn't flashy, but it's often how strong rosters are built. More picks mean more chances to fill holes, add depth, and stay flexible. If Dallas believes the draft board falls a certain way, moving down could be the smartest move they make. Free agency is another area where tough decisions are coming. The debate between Javonte Williams and Breece Hall is a perfect example. Javonte Williams is a physical runner who would likely come a lower cost and fits a power-based offense. Breece Hall, on the other hand, is an elite, game-changing talent who can run, catch, and take over games, but he would be expensive. This decision really comes down to star power versus financial flexibility. Finally, let's talk about George Pickens. Pickens has undeniable talent, but consistency and maturity remain questions. A contract extension would be a commitment, while a franchise tag would give the Cowboys more time to evaluate. That's where drafting a player like Jeremiah Smith comes into the conversation. Jeremiah Smith could be a true WR1 for the future, giving Dallas long-term security at the position. Franchise tagging Pickens while drafting Smith might be the safest path. Best organizations don't wait until decline is obvious. They prepare while things are still stable. You draft, you develop, you create options. And if the young guy never plays, that's a good problem to have. What you cannot afford is being caught unprepared when the position that matters most suddenly becomes a question mark. As we shift into draft evaluations, one player who keeps popping up is Michigan defensive